first trip to Brooklyn, I decided to make the trip all about 5 Points Fest 2019. I'd never been to 5 Points Fest, never been to Designer Con or any of the really large designer toy shows. So watch along as I hop on a plane, head up to Brooklyn, and check out 5 Points. Friday and had some time to kill in New York, so I went to a local restaurant called Esme and got a nice burger, and then I went over to Modern Pinball NYC to check out what that was all about. I'd heard about it before, being that I play a lot of competitive pinball, so I went and checked that place out. It was pretty cool. The games were a little beat up. They had a class in there, or I should say the games were in decent condition, so it's cool that they're doing a learning experience for pinball, and it seems they're pretty busy. You pay a flat fee, you get to see everything and play everything that you possibly could want in that location. And then I went down to the convention center. So I went down there, they had a booth up front, 2 people work in the booth, you could pick up your badge and basically be ready for Saturday when you get in line. So that was really nice that they did that. And then I went over to the Airbnb, checked in, was able to get settled, kind of get the lay of the land, talk to my host. They were like, hey, did you know there's a place called Sunshine Laundromat that is a laundromat that has pinball? Did know of it, but I did not know it was near the Airbnb, so added that to my list of stuff to do while I was in New York. And then I went and got some food. There was a really cool kind of like a vegan vegetarian restaurant, and I thought I'd give it a shot, so I hit that up. Had some excellent food. And then I went over to Sunshine Laundromat. This place is wild. It is actually a literal laundromat, and they have a double stack of washing machine doors that's on a big door basically that goes to the back, which is a good sized bar with mint condition, beautiful pinball machines. They're all set up super tough, and they're all $1, but they've got the nice limited edition versions of machines. They have a couple rare titles that you're really not going to see anywhere to play. It was a really cool place with a really cool vibe. They got board games, they've got frozen coffee and alcohol drinks if you're into that, and it was just wild. So I had a blast at least checking that place out. To see a Big Lebowski, a roughly $15,000 pinball machine just sitting on top of a washing machine it's amazing. I guess that's one of those things you'll only see in Brooklyn. So when I woke up Saturday morning, I thought, I'll get some coffee, and found out most restaurants and coffee shops don't open until 8:30, 9 a.m. Looking on Instagram, I could see there's already people lining up outside of the Expo Center, even though the show started, 10 or 11? You get an hour early for VIPs, so that was 10, and then I think the show opened at 11, so apologies if I'm wrong on that, but there's an hour gap that the VIPs get to get in and get shopping early. There's even a restaurant called Early Start that didn't open until 8:30. What do you consider early, Brooklyn? But yeah, got some stuff, I went over to the line, got there a couple hours early, and I met some really cool people just standing in line. It was nice, we were all kind of just talking and hanging out while we had to wait there. I mean, we're all lined up, why not meet some new friends and have a good time? And they were able to fill me in. So they'd been to 5 Points before. They've been to Designer Con. They kind of gave me the lowdown. I didn't know which booth I was going to be hitting first or what to really see. And they filled me in and said, some of the more rare stuff's going to be this if you're into that. They were really big into the Sofubi scene, which I hadn't gotten into yet. So they had their order of events. They knew what they were looking for. They also helped and shared that a lot of the booths would have different releases throughout the days, because of course, if VIPs could just get in there early and grab everything, there would be nothing to happen on Sunday or, really the remaining of Saturday. So it's really dependent on the artist and the vendor and what you're looking to do. You gotta kind of know and map out this stuff. There was no way I could do all that research, so I knew I was gonna head to Clutter first because they have Octo Drops, Octo Dunnys, and some exclusive Dunnys. And they're really the ones who put on this whole event. So I wanted to hit that booth first. I looked on the handy little map and figured out, okay, they're here. And then I knew that I was going to want to hit Martian Toys, as I mentioned, and some of the other artist booths that I really wanted to check out. So that was a lot of fun. It was a bit chaotic in line. There were people who already had their badges, like I got mine on Friday night, and then towards kind of the last half hour before they opened, they started handing out badges and checking out. And this giant line formed over here, and nobody knew what it was about. And then, you know, it all worked out. At the end of the day, everybody had a badge when they got through. There was no extra waiting. So when the doors opened, it was a dash. Everybody took off, heading to what booth they wanted to try to get the exclusives. I went straight over to Clutter. I looked at the Octo drops they had lined up front. There were 2 bloody variants. They looked bloody. They had red in them. Someone had already grabbed one. I said, I'd like this one, please. And then I was looking at some of the custom one-off Dunnys that they had throughout their display. And there was one by CZ that looked absolutely brilliant, which I'll be showing on the channel a little later. And I managed to pick that one up. It is, if you want a sneak peek, it's this right here. Does that help? So I did grab that one. And then after I did that, I went over to My Plastic Heart. One of the other things I wanted to pick up for this show was the shark tooth. So if you've been watching on Instagram, I've shown this guy already once before. It is a glow-in-the-dark, it's kind of a blind bag. It's a glow-in-the-dark shark. The face looks a little painted on. It's from Momoko Studios, and hopefully I can get the focus there. There's their little logo. It's actually imprinted into the design, which I think is awesome. They didn't just paint it on, it's actually deeply imprinted into it, which is really cool. And then the other thing I wanted to get was the baby sushi set, which I knew My Plastic Heart had. And as I got there fairly early in that first hour of the VIP rush, you know, I asked him, I said, do you have the baby sushi? And he said, they're over there, they're all blind boxes. I said, well, I was hoping to grab a whole case of them, actually. And he goes, well, no one's got one yet. Do you want the whole case? So it had already been opened, but sure enough, he packed it up for me. Just closed the top, packed it up, and I was able to get the case. So I'll be showing that off a little bit later as well. After that, over to Martian Toys. Probably the most popular booth at the whole show. It seemed like there was always a line there, and the big draw was Quicks. They had all the Quicks stuff. It was bringing people out of the woodwork to try to grab anything Quicks related. It was kind of madness, and I was probably the only person in line that was like, I just want this Jason Lemone figure. So I was waiting for this one, the Jason Lemone Abominable Snow Cone. He has a couple variants of this. It was the orange one, which just debuted at the show. There was only 75 of these made, and I'll be unboxing this a little later on the channel, but as you'll see, flip that over, Jason was kind enough to sign the box, which was awesome. And I flagged him down later to actually sign the snow cone itself. And I also asked about the Quicks exclusives. I knew there was a couple of the blue color versions, and I've shown off the blue chrome already. If you haven't seen it, go back on the channel, you'll find that video. But I asked about it to make sure, you know, what's it gonna be like when you're giving out wristbands, how's that all working? And there was a lot of loose info, but I was able to sort it out. And then after that, I went out to the pin yard. So there's a back area behind the building where there are a bunch of pin vendors. So I started going shopping for my wife. She really likes some of the pins, and I grabbed a whole bunch of stuff, some that I might be able to keep, but most of the stuff she's going to be taking. And it was really cool to see that. It was, the whole outdoor area was just vendors with pins, so they call it the pin yard, and then there was the DJ out there, and then there were the food trucks out there, and then there was the paint battle wall. So the paint battle wall, they have all these whiteboards set up, and then as they do the paint battles, it's 1 versus 1. They each get a board, they each get the same set of colors, and they go out there and paint. So Saturday was largely spray paint, it seems like, whereas Sunday was going to be regular paints. I apologize, I don't know what kind of paint they're using, but it's all right out there in that area, so you can kind of mingle and walk around and take it all in. There's a Pennywise. This is the first one I got. It's Moss from the IT crowd. There is a character that looks like it's from The Binding of Isaac, you could say. And then there's our evil demonic cat. And I am told that the eyes glow on this one. Went over to the pin stash and grabbed the last green face hugger that they had from Alien. They ended up pulling it off the display. They thought they had more, but they did not. And then, as I mentioned earlier, from the Clutter booth, I grabbed the 5 Points Fest logo pin. So that was about an hour in at that point, and the doors were getting ready to open to the public. I swung over to Mab Graves' booth real quick to see what she had there. And at Mab's booth, I was able to pick up her new Dino Kitties bag. And then I also managed to grab her show exclusive blobfish print that she had done. Then I went over to Tara McPherson's booth to see what she had going on. She had a whole bunch of prints and a lot of her toys at the end of it. Her husband was running the booth, who was also the announcer that evening for the Designer Toy Awards. And she didn't have her Sofubi show exclusives on sale, the Stella and Flux. Those weren't there quite yet, or I should say they were sitting on the table, but they weren't going to be selling them till later in the day. And it was kind of a quiet booth overall. It was interesting to see that, but I was happy to see a bunch of the prints I had never seen in person before. She had books out front, she had prints up on the back of the display as well, and that was really slick. So I went ahead and walked through the rest of the aisles really quickly as the public was starting to file in, and I stopped at the Skider House booth because I had spotted the Skider Cream sculpt that they had done. I had seen it on Instagram and I was actually really interested in it and totally forgot it was going to be there. This was an item done by the Olive Knight in Error 1984. They had different colorway variants of it, and it was nice to have the creators there to talk to them about it. And the one I ended up getting was the chocolate and vanilla one because it glows in the dark. They only made 15 of them, and I gladly picked it up, which was really exciting. And actually, that is right here. So I'll be cracking that open on the channel a little bit later. But I'm excited to see the glow on it. I even asked him, I said, now, does it just glow or does it really glow? And he said, we tested every single one of these to make sure it's an awesome glow. So I'm really looking forward to that. Then I went outside and I decided to watch the rest of the paint battle that was taking place right then. J-Core was still up and Mike died.
I feel bad for Mike because J-Core is last year's champion!
Hey, Corb, you want to walk around showing them the belt that you won last year?
Yes, please. Woo!
Who will win the 2019 championship? This is the first of many battles this weekend. We got Mike Dye versus J-Corp. They will have 1 hour to complete their masterpiece. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
Amazing watching these artists having only 1 hour, so they each get 1 hour to go at it and come up with a creation that they've already planned out in their heads and worked on, but to see them do it in real time is just brilliant. So as I'm watching the paint battle, I see the gentlemen coming out with the wristbands and they're figuring out where they're going to do the wristband interaction. And because I'm watching the paint battle, that's actually where the final wristbands were going to be. So I look out the corner of my eye and the mob comes. So I go up, I grab my wristband before the mob floods in, and I got really lucky. There were a lot of collector hearts broken and flipper wallets destroyed, but at the end of the day, I was able to pick up that Quicks piece. I grabbed lunch from one of the food trucks and had some time to kill before they were actually going to be selling the Quicks pieces. I checked out more of the brilliant art. I took a gander at the tattoo parlor. They were doing tattoos all weekend and had custom designs that were just for the show, shared by some of the artists. And then I was able to meet up with Jason Lamone and have him sign my Abominable Snow Cone, so that was cool. I then trekked back to the Airbnb to drop off my haul. I had a whole bunch of bags with me from the various vendors and just needed to get that out of the way and dropped off. Then I did another general walkthrough to see more of the art that was being displayed at the various booths. DesignerCon had a booth set up with a little QR code sitting there so you could pre-register for that, so I'll be hitting that show later this year. And then, just enjoyed the rest of the day. Checked out more paint battles, talked to various artists and people that were hanging out at the show. And then they actually wrap up kind of early. It's like 5, 6 o'clock. I want to say 5 o'clock that they wrap up the show. And I took off a little bit early to go across the street, directly across the street from the venue, to Pauly G's Slice Shop. I was able to pick up some delicious pizza, and it was good, just as good as everyone described it. So the people I met in the morning, they said the pizza was phenomenal. When I talked to Josh Mayhem and his wife, they said the pizza was phenomenal, so I had to give it a shot. It was crowded, it was busy, it was slow, but nonetheless, the pizza was delicious, so it was definitely worth it. I went to Sunshine Laundromat because I had an hour to kill before the Designer Toy Awards actually opened up to be able to get in there. So I went back to Sunshine, played some more pinball, went off and got some coffee before the actual Toy Awards, then went over to the Brooklyn Bazaar. I stood in line with other VIPs there that were kind of waiting. It was a little chaotic. Nobody knew where there was an actual line. And eventually they came out and said, hey, line's over here, and we're going to let you into the bar ahead of time. So I was able to get in there, play some Game of Thrones and Grand Champ that pinball machine while I was waiting. And then they opened up the doors a little bit late, but they opened up the doors to the main venue hall. We were able to file in there. There were rows of seats up front, and then there was just general standing in the back. They had some cocktail tables for people who were drinking and just talking and having a good time. So as the ceremony moved, it moved quite quickly. There were a lot of awards to get through.
Welcome everyone to the 9th annual Designer Toy Awards. Let's hear it, guys. Come on.
The cool thing is that there were fan favorites for a lot of the awards too, which was really nice to see. So they had awards and trophies going to Best Online and Physical Toy Stores. There was mini-series. There were awards based on the materials used to make the toys. And then there was Toy of the Year and Artist of the Year. There were the fan favorite versions and then the panel voted versions. It's clear that a lot of the fans were leaning towards Quicks and Martian Toys in general. Martian Toys took home awards for some of the designs of toys that they made, but also their store for being able to sell the toys. And Quicks took home a whole bunch of awards. And then the panel kind of leaned towards more some artists you may not have heard of as much, but that had brilliant designs nonetheless. So that was really cool to see. By the time it got done, it was about 10:30ish at night, so I went back and crashed. It was a long, fun day. Got some shut-eye, knowing that I would not be able to make it to day 2, the Sunday show for 5 Points Fest. I hopped on a plane and went back to spend some quality time with my family before kind of unwinding and absorbing and jumping right into a hectic work week. But I did hear that they had more paint battles on Sunday, which was awesome, and they skipped the spray paint medium and went on to some more traditional paints, which also provided some really, really cool artwork pieces that were created outside. The weather was beautiful the entire weekend, and I could not have asked for a better first trip to Brooklyn. I think it was a phenomenal show. I'm looking forward to Designer Con, understanding that it's not going to have the same kind of small, independent vibe that 5 Points has, but this was a brilliant first venture into a show such as this. Some of the highlights of the show for me would include the King Corpse sculpture done by James Groman that was at the Nug Life booth. If you haven't seen this piece, you have to check it out. It's super pricey, but it is super phenomenal. It's such a brilliant piece that was done. As I mentioned before, I loved all the paint battles. I thought that was awesome to be able to watch those live as they have an hour to battle it out and then work your way down to the finalists and have them compete as well. I love the custom Dunnys showcase that was at the Clutter booth. There were some brilliant designs there. The Fractured Bloom, so based on the Skull Flower by Tara McPherson, they had a Fractured Bloom custom showcase. That was also awesome to see. I got some brilliant selfies, including with Frank the Ape, who was kind enough to pose with me. And then being able to see all the pinball hangouts throughout Brooklyn and kind of the New York area. That was phenomenal to take in as well. I'd have to say the biggest highlight for me for the whole show was the diversity of not only the artists, but just the crew that was hanging out at the show. Some of the other hobbies I'm in, you just don't get that. The 5 Points was so welcoming for female and male artists, all genders, races, everything. It was a nice mixing pot of a community being able to hang out and really collaborate and just talk about something that they're all passionate about. So I really enjoyed seeing that, and kudos to the entire community and crew that put this event together. It was a brilliant time and a lot of fun. So hopefully you enjoyed my recap and telling of, my first venture to 5 Points Fest. It was a lot of fun. I look forward to opening up and sharing the brilliant art pieces that I collected at the show on the channel. So if you want to see that stuff, please do subscribe. And as I always say, thanks for watching.